Wow, it's been a minute. It's been a hot minute. So I think maybe almost a year now since we just streamed on AJR here. Went through a bit of work and travel and honestly some reefing burnout, call it a slump, if you will, and lost my taste for making videos and the hobby in general. But that's changed and we're back now. Thanks for everybody who's given us a second chance here. I'm excited about today's guest. Alisa, also known as Keller's Reef on Instagram. And I don't exactly remember where I met Alisa. She seems to be popping up everywhere. I've seen her on Instagram, Humble Fish, Facebook, and she's getting pretty involved in the hobby, and she's a supporter of many people out there. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce everybody to Alisa. Hello, Alisa. How are you doing this morning? So this is Alisa's first live stream. She says, I'm nervous. I'm not used to public speaking, but we can't see anybody out there, so you'll do good. So tell us a little bit about how long you've been in the hobby and most importantly, how you got started. How does Red Sea? I'm not familiar with Red Seas because I've never had one. But when they say a Red Sea 625, what does that mean? Is that liters or just a model number? Okay. Okay, hold on one second. Okay, thanks for that, Greg. I That was technical difficulties on my part. I apologize, Alisa. I had you muted. See, I promised you some interesting things that would happen here. This is what happens when you don't stream for a year. You get really rusty. Not that I was ever in there. So apologies for that. So we'll have to rewind that a little bit.
You could just mute me for the rest.
You again? Well, I'll just have you point at the tank and I'll just talk about some random shit, right?
Good one.
No. So yeah, go ahead.
So it started 3 years ago. My husband started the hobby, was the 40-gallon tank, and 6 months later we upgraded to the Red Sea, a little bigger version.
Okay.
He was pretty involved at first, and I basically took over it, I think. But he's still my engineer behind all of it.
Okay, so do you look at it more of a partnership now?
Yes.
Okay. And so you guys pretty even on the distribution of duties as far as responsibilities, or have you guys got a certain split between that? I mean, how does that work out between you? You get you make all the decisions and he does all the work?
90%. Actually, I do all the work. Honestly, okay. I wake up in the morning. I check the sump. I check everything. I feed the fish. I leave the camera on all day so I can watch him. He think I'm so I have to have a camera in the tank. And obviously when I get home, I check, I clean the glass. I do most of the work. Socks are every 2-3 days. I clean it. I do all of the work.
I think that's a great idea. Camera. What kind of camera do you have on the tank? If I didn't work from home, I probably would have a camera in the tank just for peace of mind. I don't know if I could concentrate on work all day long, not knowing what's going on.
Yeah, so it's just the home system. It's the Arlo. I stole one of the cameras from the backyard. Okay. So I can watch the tank.
And that's something you just log into a web page and you can see that, or you have that hooked up to your app.
Mm-hmm. It works through the app. I don't know if you can see the name. Yep.
Yes.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, I'm always in the market to try for a new webcam or something like that. Because even when I travel, I just haven't hooked up a webcam yet. I'm wondering, what's good, what's not. How does it handle the blues?
It doesn't handle blues. You can put a little lens on it.
But
the problem with it, though, when it's dark, you can't see anything. Only with the light on. So I don't mind watching blue as long as I see the level in the tank and everything is moving, fish are swimming. That makes me happy.
Probably not a problem if you're not working third shift, though, right?
Right.
So is that a Trident in the background, I see?
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then you're using an Apex controller in general, or you have?
Yes.
Okay, all right. What are you using besides the Trident?
Nothing.
Do you have ATO? I mean, anything else from Neptune along the lines for?
As far as ATK unit, and I think that's it.
Okay, so it's pretty simplified. You're just mainly using it for monitoring and whatnot.
Monitoring alkalinity, calcium and magnesium, and pH.
Okay.
I don't even have salinity probe.
You don't have a salinity probe?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah. Certainly not necessary. What do you check your salinity with?
I just I have two, but I just won the Hannah one on one of the club meetings with Greg's club meeting.
Okay.
Hannah salinity checker.
Yeah, it's interesting. Everybody's got their favorite way of measuring salinity. Some people, make sure they have two on hand, like a refractometer or a
refractometer. Yes, that's what I have as well. I send ICP every month, so I kind of rely on ICP mostly. Okay.
What kind of fish is this?
This is a Cavapoo. Cavalier King mixed with Poodle. His name is Minot.
Is he a frozen or a flake kind of guy?
He's our little shark, Mono.
Okay. So Alisa was kind enough to send some videos and shots of her tank, and we'll just kind of roll that along in the background and maybe pause it here and there. Alisa, if you want to kind of step us through, tell us a little bit about your tank, right? We know it's a Red Sea reefer, but how long has it been up and running, and kind of what do you got going on in here? It looks amazing, by the way. Your tank is just gorgeous.
Thank you. It's my hot mess. I call it a hot mess, but I love it. It's mine. So tank has been running for 2.5 years. It's a mixed reef. Obviously I got a little bit out of control with corals, and I was obsessed and buying all kinds of stuff the first year. Lots of Mantiporas. I have I have a little bit of everything in there, actually.
Yeah, I see you got several types of monoporas in there. I was actually wondering what this one was right here. That's a monopora right there, that orange and
that's a cherry. It's a cherry tree, I believe. Mm-hmm. That one's been doing quite well, and it's doing so well it killed a few SPS.
Oh, like overshadowing or overgrowing?
Actually, just growing into it and spewing some sort of mucus type of thing, and it's just
okay, like chemical warfares. I've seen that happen before as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Yeah, I see. I think I have one of those green. I don't know. I think that's a acropora of some type. And then, yep. Tell us a little bit about some of the fish that you have in here.
Copper Ben is new. Just added about, I want to say 2-3 months ago. This was my second attempt trying to add the copper Ben to deal with Aptasia. There were a few spots on the rocks where it was impossible to get Aptasia. So, how
were you dealing with it prior to the copper Ben?
Just using the products, the Aptasia, F Aptasia.
Okay.
Tried to super glue it, but it's so hard when the corals are growing, and it's hard to get into spots.
It is very much. I agree. Mm-hmm. I agree. It is very much. And was that a Tamarind? Was that a Tamarind rasse I saw in there as well?
That's a firefly fish. Oh, Tamarind rasse, yes, yellowtail. Mm-hmm.
So talk to me a little bit about the Tamarind rasses. I've been always fascinated by them, but I keep getting there he is again. I keep getting mixed signals about the difficulty, or the expert level. Rasses are hard to keep and feed. How long have you had him, and have you had any difficulties keeping him?
About 1.5 years. So all of my fish came from a quarantine vendor from California. He was actually...
Do you mind mentioning that vendor?
No, absolutely. Marine Pleasures. All of my fish, except 3, they came from Marine Pleasures.
Okay. I've not heard of them. Okay.
They're fully quarantined. So idea for why I got him, that's an interesting one. So we have a huge outbreak of the white tube worms on the rock structure when we first started. So the idea was brought to me by Marine Pleasure, saying that he's a good, he would take care of that. So that's the only reason we actually got him. And he actually did take care of it.
You mean you actually bought an animal for pest control and it worked? Because
yes.
I hear that all the time. Well, I bought this animal and nope, it didn't eat any of that.
Well,
sometimes,
and we were so new to it. We didn't know what we were doing. I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah, pretty fish, $250. Yeah, I'll buy it. It looks cool.
So now that the tube worm problem seems to be taken care of, what does he typically eat?
He just constantly hunting in rocks, I believe, for copepods. He eats frozen He loves TDO. Pretty much.
TDO, that's those pellets, right?
Yes. By Reef Nutrition. Oh, my fish love that stuff.
That's good to know. I don't know that I don't think I've tried TDO, but I've had the worst luck with pellets. It like seems like everything in my tank ignores it, kind of falls. I think the only thing that ever ate pellets that I threw in my tank, although I haven't tried the TDO ones, was either the shrimp or the hermit crabs and whatnot. But I've not had any luck with that. And was that a rather large leather or toadstool? What is that right there? That's softy. That's gorgeous.
Japanese Kenya tree, neon green Kenya tree.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. It's really big, and it's really.
You finding you have to trim it a lot?
I haven't trimmed it. I'm scared. I need some help.
I hear those leather ones, so you just go in there with the scissors and go after them. But I'm not speaking from any experience because I've not had any leathers, but.
That's what everyone's telling me, yeah, and I just haven't got around to it, and it's really heavy.
You ever find yourself like after you know these corals are growing into each other, right? And you're starting to see them fight, and they're running out of space, but you just can't bring yourself to trim them because you've grown them up from this little thing that's like that big, right? And then all of a sudden they become this big little thing, and you're like, to me, sometimes the thought of just chopping these things up kills me.
I think SPS is easy. I hear you. I'm the same way. That big green Mantipora is gone now. I finally, it took me 6 months. I was like, okay, I have to do it. So I finally pulled that big Mantipora. So
the SPS are soulless corals, and then the LPS those are humanized, heartfelt things.
Yes.
I love it. I can kind of get my head around that, actually. I think my heart's always been out for the LPS, the torches and the frog spawns and the softer ones with the flow and the movement. But yeah, those frustrating SPS, I guess I don't feel as bad putting those down. But your SPS, what you have in your tank, looks amazing. The polyp extension is pretty good. How old is this particular video actually?
3 weeks.
None of this is obviously very old, right? Because your tank isn't that old.
No. This is just 2 weeks, or when we start preparing. Yeah, those are pretty new videos. This is exactly what it looks like. Right.
Yeah, I love the variety that you have there. You've got a good representation of a lot of things. And did you find that you kind of got lucky when you threw everything in there and it did well when you initially placed it in the tank? Did you have to move things around to kind of find that sweet spot, or how have you gone about your husbandry with regards to how you've placed the corals, where you've placed them? Any methods to your madness there? I'll roll that back yet. We're not ready to talk about equipment.
Yeah. I think lucky maybe a little bit. And some corals, I do find it that needs 2 or 3 times placement where they find a happy place. But most of it actually I just put it in and it's good to go. I'm using Reef Moonshine method. So I started 1.5 years ago, and just never. So
what made you decide to try the Reef Moonshine method? I've heard it's kind of intensive. Is it a lot of work, or is that I've not tried it, so it's just the things you hear, So
it takes me 2 minutes to dose my dailies. I rely on ICP test monthly. So when I first started, I think it was like a year into a hobby. I was on Reef to Reef. I was on Humble. I was researching. I was doing all kinds of stuff. I stumbled upon Tusi Reefed Joe. He was Reef of the Month, and I saw all of those SPS, and I was so fascinated by it. I was like, "Oh my god, I want to do this." someone.
Oh, I was going to say, I'm sorry. So James wanted to know about those. Make sure you tie in your observations after starting it. Did it fix any of your problems, or how long did it take before you kind of started to see some of that stuff? The benefits of it, or what did you see?
Uh, yeah, that's a tough question to answer. I don't know. Everything is happy. The P. Mm-hmm.
So generally speaking, the tank was doing well on its own, and it just continued to do well after the moonshiners. That's what I was kind of getting at was, is there any way to, you're like, hey, this is worthwhile, or you're just going to keep going because, don't rock the boat, or, kind of that type of a thought process there?
Well, I didn't have any SPS at that point, and I really wanted to grow SPS, and I know how difficult they are. I didn't have the Apex at the time, so I just started doing more research on it. And someone on Facebook, you should try moonshine. I was like, what's moonshine? So I started looking into it, and it just appealed to me that I didn't have any mentors. I didn't even have a good local fish store here. I had nobody. I was like, okay, I'm going to try moonshine because I want to have SPS.
What part of the country are you located in?
We're in Idaho. Boise.
Idaho? Oh, God, that's like in the middle of nowhere. I could see where it'd be like not a plethora of local fish stores for saltwater.
We had a few fish store, but I didn't have a really good experience. When we first started the tank, we used this water, and come to find out, we had so many problems with the tank in the beginning. I had diatoms bloom. I have GHA, all sorts of things. And more research I started doing it. We were getting 56 TDS our water from him. So dirt. So it was a learning curve for sure.
About what time did so looking at your tank now, you could see maybe a little dusting in the sand, which you're probably the dinos you're probably referencing, but as far as algae goes, it's clearly under control in the tank, through the fish and what other bacterial or organic balances that are going on right now. About what time did all that stuff start receding?
Sorry, didn't get it. What?
about what time did the algae problems and the predominant battles with the uglies start to recede and the tank come into its own?
Oh, I gotcha. The first year from the day one.
Really?
For a year.
Yeah, because right now, it looks amazing. So you're in year 3, and it definitely looks like a very good mature tank.
I don't have a lot of coralline algae for some reason.
Well, what type do you have a par meter, and what kind of lights are you using on a tank?
I do have a par meter. I used Red Sea LED 90s for 2 years, and I just won from Polar Reef the Radiance G6. So that was a bonus.
Oh, you actually won those Polar Reef lights?
Yes, I did.
That's awesome. I think I do remember commenting on Instagram in there to see if I could win those, but I was wondering who wins this stuff. Apparently you. How many lights? How many lights did you get?
Two lights.
Okay, so that's currently what's lighting your tank right now is the 2 G6s. How long have they been over the tank then?
Oh gosh, only 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm just starting to get new dino flagellates problem again.
So when you switch those out, did you kind of remap your par to get it back to where it was, or how did you handle that transition? Because I've switched lights before too, and things just were kind of weird for a while.
Yeah, it is a little bit weird, but I did map everything before I took the Red Sea lights with par meter. And right now I'm pretty close where I was with the Red Sea. So, but I was trying to do a really, really, really slow transition.
Okay. So basically, you were shooting just for about the same par, and going from 3 lights to 2 lights. And I guess I don't really know much about the Red Sea lights and how they stack up comparatively to the Radions.
They're good lights. I didn't have
Yeah.
any problems. Corals are growing. Yeah, I didn't even run them at the 100 at the full capacity either.
So basically, what are you getting for par? Let's say at the sand bed level and at the top. Maybe is it 2 good points to reference?
150 to 350.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a good range. I was lighting. I just actually recently turned my lights down because I was getting like 250 at 250 to 300 at the bottom, right, and 550 plus at the top, and I was having problems. It was, things at the bottom that weren't light loving, were not loving life, and I don't know, things just kept slowly happening. So I've dialed it back, and yeah, knowing what your corals are wanting is important. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Just look at your corals. Are they happy or not? What's going on?
Yeah, exactly.
They're a good indicator for everything.
So what's currently the oldest coral and the oldest fish in your tank?
That's splattered hammer. That's one of the first corals that we got.
Okay.
And Blessed Musa, 3 years. I'm trying to think. Oh, and a Duncan. Duncan was the first coral we ever bought.
I was admiring that Duncan. That's a very nice Duncan. It's gotten to be quite large.
It's gotten really big. Yes.
That I call that my canary coral. If it's unhappy, I know I've screwed something up. And if it's happy, then I'm not too worried about it, even if another coral is maybe unhappy. But I call it my canary coral.
My bird nest is what my
yours is your bird nest. Okay, so
yes.
If the bird nest is happy, you're not gonna flip your reef apart, right?
Yes.
So these must be the G6s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I see you located them sideways like that. And then sorry, I'm getting back. Okay, those must have been when you had the Red Seas.
Yep.
Okay, very cool. All right, so I see that you have the same style of cord management that I do. Except honestly, yours looks better. You should see my disaster. It's terrible. No, this is okay. So everybody's got that, right? Not a big deal.
Yes. I know where everything else and if you look closer, I even make a little label for each cord, what it is. The little yellow labels. I know exactly where everything's at.
I see that. That is on my to-do list. So I'm going to be using you as my inspiration here this fall. And I've got some things in the works, but yeah, cord labeling and cord management is definitely on my list. So you're ahead of me here. So
needs to be cleaned up.
Doing anything special for your heaters? I see you just got the Inkbird. Is the Inkbird attached to the Apex, or is it just kind of the standalone on its own?
Standalone.
Okay. Oh, that's nothing wrong with that. Let's talk a little bit about tell us about your sump and what you have going on here.
It's very simple. Socks. I run carbon and have refugium. I have a Kitamorpha growing.
So you got a carbon? You got a like a reactor or a chamber for carbon?
No, I run.
Or do you just throw a bag in? Oh,
throw a bag in.
Oh, you do that? Okay, interesting. Okay, that works obviously. I saw there's like 4 socks there, right? So you throw a bag of carbon in one of them or 2 of them, or what's your strategy?
Just one.
Okay.
Just
okay. And those
just
look like 4-inch socks, right?
Red Sea, I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not very equipment or I don't know all the details.
Red Sea is, I think they're all metric, so that would confuse the hell out of me. Is heck they're,
I think
what the heck
so
they're doing
too.
there? Yeah. And your Cato, are you a Cato tumbler or just hey, it sits there and it grows and it does well on its own as it is?
It sits there and grows really well. It's been actually year and a half since I got it. It's growing
Nice.
really good, and I harvest probably once a month, maybe.
Okay. What are you lighting over the sump with then?
Cassell, right? Am I saying
Oh,
this right?
a Kessel?
Uh-huh.
Okay,
Refuge
like
line.
this little, is that like a little
Mm-hmm.
A80? I think that's an A80, isn't it? I'm seeing that right. Little tiny thin puck there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe they have, or is it like a red light? I don't know if you run a specific
Yeah,
spectrum or
red light. You can
yeah, I
change
am
it to
not.
blue, but I'm running red.
Okay, so you're running more of the red spectrums for the Cato. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that looks like an 80. I don't know if anybody else in the room can identify that light, but yeah, honest to God, I found Cato grows fine under a red light or just a normal blended spectrum of white and blue and just grows. It didn't seem to care what kind
I,
of light I put over it, just as long as it was like 5,000 A plus and it was like it grew. As long as the nutrients were there, I guess.
yeah, it's growing well for me too.
Yeah, it looks like it.
My old skimmer, Red Sea. I recently just replaced that skimmer, and I'm trying the Nios.
Oh, Nios. Okay. I've not tried a
Mm-hmm.
Nios. How's that? How long have you had that?
For about a month. I really like it actually. It's doing a really good job. And it's quiet. Red Sea was a little bit loud.
Loud. Okay. Are you are
Mhm.
you running any what do I call it? Like scrubber media or anything like that? I mean, what's your pH typically running in your tank?
8.2 to 8.4 right now. I started using Calquizer 4 months ago because my alkalinity and calcium consumption was just a lot.
Well, with those Monis in there, I believe it. They look like very thirsty
I
critters
would
as
ha-
far as alkalinity goes.
I would have to refill those containers like every 2 3 days. I was like, that's just not gonna work.
So
So I'm dosing.
the ones on the two containers on the right here, the right hand side, just below the
Mhm.
dose. Okay, that was your
Yeah,
your two part.
2 part. Yeah, right. Well, 2 part stuff. Yeah, it wasn't just enough.
And
And
so, are you running strictly Kalkwasser now, or are you doing both? Like, is your tank evaporating
both.
enough, or okay, you're doing both. So your primary is Kalkwasser, and then you supplement the two part as needed above and beyond that.
That is correct.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking. I was just taking a guess. I don't know. Perhaps like how many DKH per day you're having to dose to the tank to meet the demand. I mean, sometimes after a while, people don't know. You keep measuring, and if it goes down, you tweak it up a little bit, and after a while, you're like, "Geez, I don't know how much I'm going to use it a day." But
Before Calquizer, I believe I was probably between 200 and 300 a day for ALK.
for
Calcium
milliliters.
was a little bit, yes.
Okay. Okay.
And calcium was probably 150. Calcium wasn't a big deal, but right now I'm dosing 3,500 mils of Calquizer a day.
Probably everything
And
you're evaporating then, right?
yes, so, and the way I measure, the way I did it, first I start Calquizer in ATO just to see. And obviously I was evaporation, I'm going 3 days, probably about 5 gallons. So, and that's kind of how I come up with the calculation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the thing. The calculator is nice because it is inexpensive, but for most part, if you're applying it in a traditional method, it's going to be limited by how much evaporation your tank does on an average daily basis. Yeah, for sure. But sounds like you're having, those are good problems to have in your case to try to figure out, right? Growth.
To keep alkalinity and calcium.
So then, how large is that ATO? How many gallons is, how often you have to refill that?
Not very often. I'd say probably.
Is that's something you made? Where'd you
20.
get that?
I got it from Octo.
Oh, like Reef Octo?
Octo, oh gosh, Matt.
Okay, I
He's
think
on
I know who you're talking. Yeah, does he make those acclimation boxes and other things like that? Like
Yes.
like the really strong magnet guy, I call him, or whatever. Yeah, I've got some of his stuff.
He was just on Humblefish a few weeks ago.
Yes, thank you. I watched that episode. That was good. Yeah, I think I have his titanium heater holder in my sump, and I have an acclimation box from him.
Yes, his stuff is really, really nice. So he made that. That was custom made.
Okay, yes, it looks very functional. I like it. It's simple. It does its job. It's just a box to hold water, so it doesn't need to be any more fancy than that. Ironically, I think I've used his acclimation box more as fish traps than I have acclimation boxes because they're on that wall so good. You know, you can tie a fish string, or I mean a fishing line to it with the hinges, and I can yank it from across the room. Trap fish in there. Yeah, very cool. And then what's in that jar?
That's the waste from the Apex.
Oh, okay.
Waste container.
Okay. And then
calcium.
Yep. So it looks like, you know, your methods of reef keeping are pretty much more manual, especially considering, you know, your moonshiners is all manually dosed by hand, right? You're not dosing any trace elements with an automated doser or anything, right?
Nope. Very simple. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very simple indeed. I like it. You are the controller in this case.
I am.
So what else can you tell us about your tank? Any next steps for it? It looks like a UV sterilizer in the back. Have you run that the entire time you've had that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that hasn't seemed to have any impact on the dinos. Though. You said you always had some kind of low dino issue.
Yes, it's not helping. This is my calculator setup right here.
Okay, is that like 5 gallon jug? Yeah.
5 gallon. Mm-hmm.
Once a week, pretty simple. Restart it like that. I like it. Yeah, I've got some low grade dinos in my sand bed as well, and it's just something I haven't dealt with either. You know, it gets bad after a month or two, and then I suck it out of the sand a little bit. And when I do kind of like my monthly go through of my tank, and then it's good for a while, and then it annoys me, and I just never dealt with it. So, not sure if you've done any research on how to stamp those out.
Oh my God. So I've been dealing with all sorts of dinoflagellates for a year and a half now. I have no idea why and what's going on. I've tried so many different methods, and they all come back. They all go away and come back. I've tried still liquid dosing. I spent so much money on phyto and pods, bacteria. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I've heard people say that, yeah, you know, attack it with an army of pods. And I'm trying that right now. So I restarted up my phyto and my pods. Yeah. So I'm going to see how that goes.
Right?
Yeah. So I'm going to see if I can bust that reef myth. I'm going to do nothing different other than just chuck pods in there, you know, weekly and see what that does. But I got to be careful not to change anything else, or, you know, otherwise
Right.
Oops. But
Did you
we'll
start
see.
your reef with the dry rock or live rock?
50-50. How about you?
50-50. Yeah, it was all just curry dry rock,
Okay, like the
dry live
Marco.
rock. Not the no, it's the curry.
Oh, the Carib Sea.
Carib Sea purple. Yes.
Okay, okay. I've not tried any of that stuff. Were you happy with it? Did you like the way it turned out?
Um. Yes, but I'm thinking that's probably the issue why I have so many issues with dinos because of the dry rock, possibly. I did, however, a few months ago added the aquaculture live rock from KNP
KP Aquatic. Yeah,
Aquatic.
out of
Yes.
Florida. That's the rock
Uh,
that I used. Like I said, it's expensive, so I only got like about half of my rock because I didn't want to spend that
it's
much
really
money.
expensive.
Yeah.
I did buy it to add it for biodiversity just to see if that will help with dinoflagellates. Still there. Nothing
Still
is
there.
killing them.
Some of my reading has told me that putting them under a microscope and finding out which dinoflagellates you have exactly is, pretty much the start. So at some point, maybe I'll pull them out and throw them under the microscope. I've just figured out how to look at phyto under the microscope. So maybe I'll get lucky and ID this stuff.
Oh, I have a microscope. I have everything.
Do you? What kind of microscope do you have? And what are you using it for? Because I'm just starting to use mine. It laid around for like a year and I didn't touch it. And now I'm just starting to play around with it and figure out. And I'm probably doing everything wrong and horribly inaccurate. But if you know anything about microscopes, then I'm going to be bothering you daily.
I just have the AIM scope. I believe that's what it is. I just checked how it started. I bought it to ID what kind of dinoflagellates I had. So I had the large cell, then I had a small cell, and what looks like right now I have Cooley maybe, but we'll see. I need a proper idea. I do. I use it when I buy live phytoplankton. You can put under microscope to see if it's still alive.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
Yeah, if it's a motile, right? I mean, sometimes like the nanocroapsis, I think, is not a motile, and I'm not sure. I think it just floats around, so it's kind of hard to see. But are you on the dinoflagellates? Do you have to stain the sample, or are you just putting them on a glass slide?
Just the glass slide.
Use a cover,
this
like a little square cover. Just drop of water on the glass slide and take a look at it.
Exactly. Yeah. Just take a sample from a sand, shake in a small little bottle, shake it really good, dump a little sample, and look under.
Okay, I will try that. Now it made me curious this week because I got a fresh batch brewing in the sand right now, so it shouldn't be hard to pull out a sample and take a look at it. I'll send you a picture, and you'll be like going, "Oh, that's the one I got too." So James was asking, what pump do you use for the kelp?
It's all Apex.
Which one?
The Neptune dose.
The Neptune dose. Okay.
Yeah.
And then is that the same thing that's dosing? Do you have another one for the 2-part or?
Yeah, so right now my calcium is offline because I'm running that tube to the 5-gallon bucket, and I only have 2 pumps and one for alkalinity. Calcium I'll just do manually if it's going low. It's no big deal. Okay.
Yeah, calcium is probably easier to keep up with. Okay, so you're dosing. Use the 2 heads on the dose. One to dose the kalkwasser, the other one to dose you're doing soda ash or sodium carbonate. Or are you doing the bicarbonate?
Yes. I don't know. BRS kalkwiser?
No, on the 2-part. Soda ash. I'm
still No, I'm using Brightwell Part 2.
Oh, Brightwell Part 2. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That what else? What does that have in it? Is it just strictly sodium carbonate, or has it got some other additives in there?
No idea.
You got me curious. Send me a picture of it. I'll look it up. I'm always looking out for new ways to do things too. It just keeps me current on, how people are doing things and understanding the different methods. I mean, I might not be doing it, but it's still worth knowing.
Actually, I've been having some lithium issue, and Andre was Moonshiner, actually did some ICP testing on some of the products, and Brightwell was one of them that might contain some of the stuff that why our elements were increasing in our tank. So actually he recommends using now BRS products like soda ash and stuff like that.
Okay, something more of a purified or just maybe a direct chemical instead of some of these what I call supplemented or bolstered products. They try to put a whole bunch of stuff in, which I would. It kind of makes sense if you think about it. If you're doing a very targeted regimen like Moonshiners, and you're trying to control all of these, and then you got something else, that's coming in there, it would definitely seem to make sense. Do you find that Andre's pretty helpful navigating through that, is responsive? And
yes, he is very helpful. You have any questions, he's always there to answer. And it's really it's pretty simple recipe, really. His handbook is really helpful. He has another book, the Corals Coloration. And so you get an ICP test. You just use Excel spreadsheet. You plug it in your numbers. It tells you exactly what you need to dose. That's it.
Well, I could definitely see that your tank is definitely thriving. So whatever you're doing, keep doing it because it's working for you.
Thank you.
For being new to the hobby, as you're telling us, within the last 3 years, you look to be enjoying quite a bit of success. One of the things that I also found interesting is, didn't you mention you're getting more actively involved in clubs of any sorts? I heard a rumor out there that you might have joined some club, maybe not near you, but somewhere that you found a home with. Tell us a little bit about your endeavors there, your current endeavors with the socials and the.
Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm everywhere. I joined the California Reefing Club. Greg Carroll is the president of that club. So I attend their Zoom meetings every month. I'm also part of the Carolina Reefing community as well. Brandy is the president of that. And I've been really heavily involved with my local reefing club community. So our last meeting, they voted me to be their president. Yes.
So you're the president you become the president of your local club. Congratulations. And now you're also helping administer the Carolina group. That's great.
Yes.
Yeah, I appreciate people like yourself that get out there and they help other reefers, with what right? So it's like I always never feel like you have to be in the hobby for 20 years and be this person that knows it all just to be helpful. If it's just supportive at any level, right? Whether it's being a good human to your fellow hobbyists,
if you don't know, you don't know. Yeah.
And if you don't know, you don't know.
You don't know, you don't.
Right. I feel that for everything I do know, I'm full of shit on another thing. So
see, this is where it's disconnected right here, calcium.
Because that's what you're
going to the. Yeah, that's where I was. Yeah.
That's cool. So what are your next steps for your hobby and your tank? Where do you see taking your tank going? Is it kind of in coast mode, or do you have some plans to?
There's always plans. There's always something.
Tell me about your plans. I love hearing about reefing projects. It's what we get all geeked out about.
So I just bought a couple branches of micro rock. I wanted to add a little bit of structure to my existing structure, so I have more room to add SPS on top. It's
Very
more
good.
corals.
More corals. See if you can fit any more in there. Or is this some kind of secret plan to say, hey, look how crowded the tank is. We have to upgrade again and get an even bigger tank.
No, no upgrades. I think this is good for me. If I ever upgrade, I'll probably go smaller.
Okay. Any plans on like a
Less
frag
work.
tank? Like I know you mentioned that you haven't exactly been trimming your corals just yet, maybe some of the SPS, but what are you doing with your frags when you have to trim? Or maybe do you ever make accidental frags when you're in there cleaning stuff up? Like I'm a putz, you know, I'm in there cleaning and I knock something over and snap a twig off or whatever.
So I try to share within a community. I'll maybe sell frag or two to local reefers, but or I'll take it to the local fish store. We actually have a new store that has been open for a year and a half now. I love him. Quality fish and corals. Shane is incredible. He's been in the hobby for so many years, and I'll just take it to him for some store credits, or I get new corals from him.
Oh, that's great.
It's a great trade. I have a great community here. I love it.
Yeah, I think my nearest local fish store is like 90 miles away, so it's pretty tough.
Oh,
but yeah, I'm slowly finding a few more reefers in the area. You know, I think we've lost 3 gotten out of the hobby in the last year and a half, 2 years, and then I've only discovered 2 more in recent history. So we're kind of thin out here, but yeah, if you've definitely got enough people for a club, I'm definitely jealous. I've thought briefly about joining, you know, a club remotely, but so far
it's fun.
I hang out in the Discords, and that's kind of my club, you know. So. I don't think too many people want to hear me talk.
I really enjoy meeting people. I think it's another part of the hobby that I really like.
I've heard good things about the Carolina Club, and I think there's one out in California that's pretty good. I think does Greg run that one? What is that called? What's that one called? Yeah, they said they always invite other people, which is cool. You know, that you can just, hey, there's a club out there. Maybe you don't live in that area, but they welcome everybody to drop in. And they've had a few topics that I've almost jumped in, but usually it was like a scheduling conflict where it's like, I actually would jump in for this meeting, but then something comes up and I can't attend for whatever reason. But I do like that.
Yeah, anytime you have time, you should join it. It's fun. Sometimes we talk for 7 or 8 hours.
Nothing wrong with that.
It's fun. I really enjoy it.
So what's your least favorite thing about the hobby? There's got to be something.
Least favorite. Just dealing with nuisance algae, I think. That's really just bugs me because I've been dealing with it for the last year and a half. But other than that, I'm not really good in gluing corals.
Contrary to the evidence in front of us, right? Is that where you're getting a little assistance from your husband then?
Yes. He's definitely helping me with that.
Yeah, he's not much on the socials. I think when we were initially talking, I invited him to pop into the back there. He didn't seem too enthusiastic about that at all. So
no, he despises social media.
Yeah, right. It's like you know, people like me that talk a lot that probably know the least, and then it's the quiet ones that you got to watch out for because they've got all that knowledge in the background. So that's good. But I'm pretty sure you know plenty about corals because you seem to be very involved in the tank. So I think you know what's going on.
Well, thank you. I don't know what I'm doing.
Well,
I'm just reefing. I'm observing them every day.
Yeah, that's one thing I agree wholeheartedly with is every day walk past your tank because it's amazing. Within 20 seconds, you can see if there's a general problem, if things are happy, or if there's not. Once in a while, there's maybe a coral that's off in the corner that I don't typically see or I have to look really close at. That might go overlooked, but you know quick when something's just generally not good. So watching that tank every day and seeing what it looks like for sure.
You're really good at keeping goniporas going in these.
I'm very lucky
You're
at keeping
going is
gonoporas. Yeah.
they look amazing in your tank.
And then there's a
I
lot of
feel
corals that I'm really bad at keeping. Like, well, it seems like tanks have like to me a personality. Like, however you set them up or whatever chemistry or microbiome you've got going on are conducive to some, but not so much to others. Like I've tried trackies, acans. I can't grow those. Now I can grow those in my frag tank, and they do amazing there. But in my display tank, it's having none of it. So what corals have you tried? Like maybe a couple times. It's one thing to try a coral, have bad luck, and that's not a trend, right? But you're like, you have that coral that you've taken a couple of runs at, and you're just like, nope, not for this tank. You have that coral?
gonipora.
Gonipora. Okay. Right. Well, I'll cross my fingers for the one or two that I saw in the bottom there.
Well, and those have been with me for over a year, so those are doing really good. But I think, oh my gosh, I lost probably, I want to say 5 different frags. It's just hit and miss for me.
Yeah, no, I hear you, and it's frustrating too because some of the corals that I absolutely love, like I'm a huge fan of trackies, and I'd love or scallies, right? The rounder ones. I'd love those in my tank, and just can't do it. So we'll see. I'm trying some different things. Like say, I'm reducing PAR in my tank, and maybe I'll let things kind of gel for a little while and take another shot at it, but see how it goes.
Yeah, those are the first corals that I ever bought. It was a Scullies and Trachy. And I would feed him like every day just to watch him.
They are fun to feed. Like sometimes,
Yes.
I got the one in my frag tank now where I'll just take a chunk of fish, right, and I'll just put it on him, and he'll just take it, and I don't even bother with a turkey baster anymore. Be delicate about it. I just drop it in there. And
Yeah, I don't target feed anymore. I used to. It's impossible with my tangs. Every time the tangs are all over the place. They just steal the food. I'm like, I'm not doing this.
no, I agree. It's a pain in the butt. Once in a while, depending on my nutrients, and I'd be curious to know what you run your nutrients at. If I find like my phosphates are low, I'll dose some reef or whatever, but I'll just broadcast feed them. But when I used to do my Duncan, when I used to target feed my Duncan, all the my tanks would turn that thing into a vending machine. The thing would just get beat up because they'd be trying to steal the food out of the polyps there. So I stopped doing that altogether, and it's fine. Yeah. What do you run your nitrates and phosphates at? Do you have a target number, or is that something that's important to you?
So my tank was really stable for a long time. I want to say I was about 22.12, and then I just skyrocketed. I don't know what happened. I was at 43 to 0.43 phosphate, and everything seems to be doing fine. I did, however, had one of my Monties went RTN on me overnight, and then I've lost 2 other frogs of SPS because they were right next to it. It's just kind of spread. I was like, okay, maybe my nutrients are a little high. So I'm down now to 20 again, to 0.1 to 1.5 phosphate. I test every week. Honestly, if my corals are happy, I'm not too worried about it. But after that RTN event, maybe I shouldn't go up that high.
Well, yeah, that's fair because, like you said, you know your tank's personality and what it likes and where the happy zones are at, and sometimes that's the nice thing about testing is you can see a trend and maybe get ahead of it. Admittedly, sometimes like, are there parameters you honestly don't care about, and you're like, when I remember to measure it, I measure it, and sometimes it's months. Do you have any of those like that you just don't care about and find that it's just your tank is fine?
And then I'm a little bit OCD when it comes to that. I test every weekend.
and that's great. I mean, it's whatever, your method is your method, like for me, calcium, if I measure calcium twice a year, that's it. It's like my tank
every time I refill my Apex, I have to test for, I do the manual test for calcium, magnesium, and alkalinity because it will just throw off the number when I do the refill.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I'm a little lazy because I just use Calcwasser, right? And so that calcium comes along for the ride in proportion. So I'm lazy because I can be, I guess. And I suppose, in all fairness, you're doing both, so it would be easy to have one go off the rails a little bit. So I can see where you'd have to watch that. And not to mention that you're already dialing in trace elements to a very accurate degree. So sounds like testing isn't something that you look at as a hardship.
Nope, easy.
Well, that's good. That's good. Well, this has been an enjoyable talk. I look forward to collaborating with you going forward. I always enjoy following your stories on Instagram. For anybody that is not familiar with Alisa, I put a link, or I will put a link if I haven't already, in the video description to her IG page. And then, Alisa, if you want, I can even drop a link in there to your reef clubs. So just pass me along those links after the show. I'll drop those in there for anybody who wants to check out and see what you're up to behind the scenes. And reach out and say hi to Alisa. Her tanks are amazing. Her Instagram page is entertaining, and she's a good supporter. As far as I've always seen, I've had nothing but good interactions with her. She's an active member on Humble Fish. Go check that place out. Another good reference to meet great reefers. And next month, I think in mid-October, I actually have another guest lined up. We're going to change the format up a little bit. We'll be talking about his reef tank, but we're actually going to do a deep dive into carbonate alkalinity, specifically Kalkwasser, various methods, and we're going to do a dive into disaster mitigation, power backups. My guest reefer has put in a large battery backup system, and we'll go through that and talk about disaster mitigation and carbonate alkalinity management. So, Alisa, it's been amazing talking to you. And in the future, if you want to drop by and chit chat with the next guest or a future guest, I always say that if you've been on the show before, you're welcome to drop in, and we don't have to have just two people talk. We can have a crowd. The more the merrier, and just chit chat like we'd be sitting having a coffee or having a drink at the bar.
That would be fun. Thanks for having me. I know I was a little bit nervous. I'm sure I rumble mumble a lot. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm nervous every time I get on, to be honest. This is new to me too, but what the heck? We'll just wing it, and it is what it is. So anyways, everybody, I appreciate you coming out today for supporting Alisa. Give us some feedback, and yeah, let's all hang out and be friends. See you next month.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great weekend.